In this video we're going to talk about choosing coats and layering. We're going to focus on three types of coat: the waterproof coat, the duvet coat and the soft shell. Okay, let's look at the waterproof jacket. It is important to get a good waterproof jacket, one that fits and is going to protect you from the elements. It's the waterproof jacket that's going to stop you getting wet, cold and ultimately miserable when you're out in the wild. Look for one that has got the Duke of Edinburgh symbol associated to it. This is a good sign of a quality one that is suitable for scouts. But if you're going to buy one, make sure that it's made from the right materials, either Gore-Tex or one of the other breathable materials, or a cloth that is treated. The reason you want a breathable material is that as you walk you will sweat, and that you want the sweat to breathe out, but you don't want the rainwater to be able to get in. Some of the cheaper coats will act like a plastic bag. They won't let water either way, and that will just mean that you end up getting soaked from your own sweat. Size. You want to make sure that it is to the right size. You want it slightly bigger than you probably would normally wear for to school or in everyday use. This is for several reasons. One, because you want to put it over the top of several layers of jumpers, and we're going to talk about layering later on. But two, you want to make sure that, for example, on the arm, it comes down enough that it doesn't leave a gap between your gloves and the edge of the coat, because your wrists will get cold. Similarly, around the waist, you want the waterproof to come down over your hips, so that any water running off of it won't run onto your trousers. It will just fall onto the ground. The storm flap. This is very important part of the coat, and the storm flap sits over the top of the zip and stops water getting through the zip. It is key that you have that in any coat that you buy. A number of times we've been out with scouts and they've not had that, and the water has just got in through the zip and made them very wet. Similarly, on the cuffs, you want to have a similar affair on the cuffs where you can tighten and loosen the cuffs so you can make them nice and tight as well. Collar. You want one that's got a high collar on it. This way it will stop the wind and anything getting around in your neck, and you can also use it to keep the heat underneath your coat. And finally, the hood. You want a very big hood that can get over your head, but again protect you from the elements. You might have a bobble hat on in some of the stuff that we do. You might even have a climbing helmet, so you want the hood to be able to cover those. Now let's look at the duvet jacket. The duvet jacket is typically not a waterproof jacket, but it's very good in extreme cold temperatures, and especially if you're out on a hike, when you're stopped for lunch and you need to put something on because you're going to be a bit sweaty. You want to put something on to keep you warm whilst you're not moving and burning up energy. The duvet jackets come in two types of materials. They come in down like this one, or they come in man-made fibres, which are as good but are slightly cheaper. The downside is that a man-made fibre duvet jacket won't compress to a smaller amount size as the feather jacket will. Again, you want to have some room inside the jacket. You want it to be, like the waterproof, you want it to be a little bit not tight. And the reason you want that is you want the air to be able to circulate around inside the jacket, because the jacket heats the air up, and the air then keeps you warm. But to do that, you need to have tight cuffs and a tight waistband, and ultimately a tight collar. All good duvet jackets, the surface, even though it's not waterproof, will be water repellent, and that's because often you're wearing them in a snow type environment, and when the snow falls on it, the water from the snow won't get into the jacket. It's good to look out for that. Also, all duvet jackets should come with a stuff sack, so that you can cram them into the stuff sack so they don't take up much room in your rucksack. Now let's look at the soft shell. The soft shell is often a windproof fleece like this one, or it is a light duvet jacket, i.e. one that has less fill in it, and generally these are worn underneath your waterproof jacket but on top of your fleece. They can be used as a jacket in their own right because they're windproof, and generally they also have repellent on top of them to make them slightly waterproof. But like the duvet jacket, they're not going to be completely waterproof, they'll just be water repellent. But they are very useful for when you're walking and you want to keep the wind out, but you don't want to put your waterproof jacket on, and they're are great to have around the camp. You might also want to know that the Genesis style range has one of these with the Genesis logo on. Okay, so let's look at layering. Layering is vital to keep your temperature under control when you're out on a hike. This is because sometimes when you're on a hike you're going to be walking up steep hills, sometimes you're walking on the flat, sometimes you're going to be fast, sometimes you're going slow, sometimes it's going to be hot, sometimes it's going to be cold. So you need to be able to control your temperature. The way to do that is by layering. And layering is just simply the use of many thin layers to control your temperature rather than one big fat layer. So for example, look at myself now. I have my green base layer on. I then have a soft fleece, I have my soft shell, and then my waterproof. All of these layers are now protecting me and keeping me warm. If it gets too hot, I can take my waterproof off, remove the fleeces and the soft shell, and put my waterproof back on. And in certain situations where it's hot yet it's raining, that is a great combination. Just wearing your base layer with your outer waterproof. This bonus material is about the buff. The buff is a tube of cloth that you can put around your neck, and it acts as a windproof and sun protector for your neck. It will work in conjunction with your coat to protect you from the elements. It can be worn in a variety of ways, around the collar, over the top of the head, or even as a hat, and therefore is a very versatile piece of equipment. Okay, so in summary we have looked at 3 types of coats: the waterproof, the soft shell and the duvet. It is key to have a good waterproof with you, one that has a good storm flap, a hood, high collar, and that fits you around the cuffs and the waist. Don't forget to use layers to control your temperature, and look after your coats so they will look after you. Thank you for watching. Bye.